These best movies you haven't seen deserve your attention and definitely should go on your watch list. From trippy science fiction to compelling dramas, we did our best to put together some of the best. But rest assured, there are likely many, many more that could go on this list. Ready to watch your next favorite movie? I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 awesome movies you probably haven't seen. '25. A Scanner Darkly. Released in 2006, A Scanner Darkly is a film adaptation of the novel by Philip K. Dick, starring Keanu Reeves and Robert Downey Jr. About an undercover cop that starts to lose his identity after getting involved with a dangerous new drug, this movie is quite possibly the most faithful adaptation of a Dick novel. Director Richard Linklater filmed it in live action and then used a post-production animation process, making it look like it was hand-drawn. 24. The Thing. Though today it's considered a cult classic, John Carpenter's The Thing didn't exactly do that great when it first released. As a result, this trippy alien horror got overlooked by most. 23. Brick. Before he directed Star Wars The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson had much humbler beginnings, directing his independent film Brick, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. A neo-noir about a young man trying to solve his girlfriend's murder, the dialogue, the characters, and the unique story make it a must-see. 22. Her. Though this film won an Oscar for its screenplay, few people actually saw it. Starring Joaquin Phoenix, it's about a man who falls in love with his lifelike computer operating system. While that might sound weird, the movie is beautifully shot, well written, and well worth your time. 21. They Live. About a drifter who finds glasses that reveal a world secretly ruled by aliens, this film is a clear political satire on consumerism in the media. 20. The Grey. Starring Liam Neeson, this film is a brutal wilderness survival story with a clever philosophical subtext. About oil workers whose plane crashes in the Alaskan wilderness, they fight to survive against the brutally low temperatures and ravenous wolves hunting them. 19. Appaloosa. Westerns don't usually get the love they once did in Hollywood, but every now and then a true gem emerges, and this film is definitely one of them. Grounded by fantastic performances from Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen, this film follows two men hired to police a small town, but things become complicated with the arrival of a young widow. 18. Annihilation. Despite being intelligently written, politically relevant, and also weird and terrifying, pretty much no one saw this movie. A box office flop, but a critical darling, this film is practically an instant cult classic. 17. Moon. Written and directed by Duncan Jones, this film is a cerebral science fiction about a man's lonely life on the moon and his work getting resources back to Earth. 16. Ex Machina. About a software programmer who is selected to work on a special cutting-edge project in artificial intelligence, he discovers he walked down a dangerous rabbit hole he might not be able to get out of. Compelling, thought-provoking, and tense, this film should be on everyone's watch list. 15. Shattered Glass. Though it stars everyone's favorite Jedi, Hayden Christensen, don't let that detract you from seeing the movie. It has a surprisingly good performance from Christensen, and the based on true events story about a popular journalist that fabricated most of his stories is compelling all the way to the end. 14. Your Name. An anime movie released in 2016, this film has everything you'd want in a movie. It's funny, thought-provoking, emotional, unique, and keeps you guessing up to the end. 13. A Ghost Story. Written and directed by David Lowery, this movie is about a deceased husband trying to reconnect with his wife. One might think a movie with a ghost costume that's literally a white sheet might be the worst movie ever, but one would be wrong. It's a slow burn film, but it's beautifully shot and told, raising questions about legacy and existence that'll be left hanging long after the movie's over. 12. Badlands. Well known for his unique filmmaking style, Terrence Malick's first feature, Badlands, is about an impressionable girl and her troublemaker boyfriend that go on a killing spree in South Dakota. Despite its violent plot, it's actually an introspective film about how a relationship between two outlaw lovers unfolds and leads to an inevitable end. 11. Aguirre, The Wrath of God. Werner Herzog's nihilist perspective is on full display in this film about a man's obsessive pursuit to find El Dorado. While it's a slow burn movie, and things only increasingly get worse as the plot progresses, it's one of those films you should probably see at least once in your lifetime. 10. Lakh. As a feature-length film set entirely inside a car, this movie proves you don't necessarily need constantly changing set pieces and tons of characters to make a story tense and intriguing. Again, this movie is just one man talking mostly on his phone the entire time inside of a car, and that's it. Still, somehow they figured out a way to make it gripping from start to finish. 9. Primer. Ever watch a movie where you were so confused you thought your head would explode? This is that movie times 1,000. Written and directed by Shane Carruth, it's about a group of engineers that create a time machine and open a can of worms as a result. 8. Enemy. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, the same director of Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, this film is also a cerebral, make-you-think kind of movie. About a man who discovers his duplicate, it turns out to be much more than you originally think, with a thick and perplexing subtext. You'll want to pay attention to the details to piece together this sometimes confusing puzzle, but ultimately, you have to see the ending. 7. Breaking the Waves. This is one of those emotionally heavy and gut-wrenching movies you'll want to mentally prepare yourself for before watching. Still, Lars von Trier presents an ethically difficult portrait of love, relationships, and connection that almost demands to be watched and discussed. 6. Blue Ruin. At its core, this movie is a revenge film, but it's also much more than that, cleverly revealing how a simple act of revenge can unravel and cause more problems, leading only to more violence and bloodshed. 5. The Mosquito Coast. Whether it's Apocalypse Now, Indiana Jones, or 6 Days and 7 Nights, Harrison Ford loves to traipse around in the jungle, and the Mosquito Coast is no exception. About an eccentric inventor that leaves city life to build a utopia in Central America with his family, this film is a fascinating character study propelled by one of Ford's more underrated performances. 4. There Will Be Blood. A slow burn movie by Paul Thomas Anderson, this movie digs in deep to reveal the desperation and corruption fueled by the rush for oil in America. The story is rich, but watching Daniel Day-Lewis perform is perhaps the only real reason to watch this movie to its grim and bitter end. 3. 2001: A Space Odyssey. This classic by Stanley Kubrick is likely the kind of movie you've lied about watching, but truthfully fell asleep during halfway through. There's no denying this movie is slow and unemotional, but what makes it so good is the cinematic magic Kubrick conveys on both an external and internal level, showcasing the dark truth of human progress. 2. 12 Angry Men. While its title might not sound fun at all, this movie is actually a fascinating nail-biter through and through. A black and white classic from 1957, it tells the story of a jury of men trying to decide the fate of a young man. Initially, the jury leans towards a guilty verdict, until a holdout stands firm and tries to force them to re-examine the evidence. 1. Sorcerer. There's a reason you and everyone else never saw this film. Star Wars. Released in 1977 on the same day as said film, it was instantly overshadowed and ignored, becoming a box office flop. It's a true shame. A dark story about a group of men brought together to transport dynamite through the jungle, this film is a lot about fate and suffering, which is ironic considering its box office fate was not so kind. So, how many of these movies have you seen? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your answer to us at List25. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button on the bottom right and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these videos here or just head to our website at list25.com.